Stockcast. My name is Alex, and I'm very excited and honored to introduce to you our guest, CEO of Lucid Motors, Peter Rawlinson. Peter, thank you so much for joining.
Great to join you, Alex.
Thank you. And so a lot of the questions that have been generated for this interview, it's obviously very and highly anticipated, was generated not only by myself, but retail investors that follow me on Twitter and across the whole internet. So I believe that the retail investors really have these questions and really have it on their hearts. And I'm very excited for your responses as well as they are as well. So first off, electrification is becoming a main focus in the automobile industry, with many well-established companies rotating to the EV sector, along with EV startups starting to become more in the public eye. What sets Lucid apart from the others?
Gosh, that's such an all-encompassing question. I hardly know where to start, Alex. Look, let's try to break this down. Let's say we cover the product, the technology, and maybe the company and the team. We're entering the luxury EV market with the car behind me. Lucid Air is overtly a luxury offering, but we're doing that in a design sensibility which is very much inspired by the state of California. It's understated, overtly so. It's really what we term post-luxury. And it's distinctly different from the sort of luxury offerings you see from today's grandee marques, which from a personal perspective, I find them to be rather ostentatious, particularly some of the interiors. So we've got this very understated, deliberately toned down, more Bauhaus inspired look, very much inspired by California design sensibilities in our luxury offering. And then what underpins that is our technology, which is 100% in-house. And a great measure of that is our range. We have certain versions of Lucid Air will be over 500-mile range. Now, the way we're achieving that is through high technology, 100% in-house. Because let's face it, anyone can achieve dumb range by stuffing a whole bunch of batteries into the car, making the thing heavy, unwieldy, unprofitable, less legroom, all these bad attributes. That's what I term dumb range. So we're achieving the range with as much range as possible with as small a battery pack as possible. And that's environmentally responsible. It's smart. It's what I term smart range. But this is what the planet needs. This is where we burn less fossil fuels. We burn less electrons to go down the road. And how do I measure efficiency? I measure that in miles traveled per kilowatt hour. And we're achieving around 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour on an EPA cycle. And this is very different from some of these big numbers that are cited on a regular basis now in the EV space. We're not saying 500 kilometers range, and we're not measuring that on a WLTP cycle or an NEDC cycle. This is 500 miles in an EPA cycle. And I think that is the litmus test. And that is the new benchmark. And we're doing that through efficiency with in-house battery technology, which actually powers the entire field of the World Electric Racing World Championship. Our packs power every single car on that grid. With miniaturized drive units, motor, inverter, ultra high tech, and those drive units, the miniaturization I'll get onto in a moment, we're able to achieve around 9 horsepower per kilogram, wow, which is quite exceptional. It's nearly 3 times what we're seeing from close competitors. And yet those units are super efficient. We have an over 900 volt architecture. The modern EVs are all going to go ultra high voltage. We're seeing that with Porsche Taycan, over 800 volts. Hyundai's raising the bar now, coming up to 800 volts. And we're launching with Dream Edition, which will be 924 volts. Wow. And that gives us the efficiency. But there's a whole other dimension to this car, where really the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And this is the space concept. And Alex, it's very experiential. I talk about the space concept. It's something you have to experience for yourself, because we have a car which is more compact on the outside, and much more roomy on the inside. Often people see pictures of our car from the inside and assume that it's some big, lumbering limousine. Actually, our car is, in its footprint, is more compact in terms of length and width, not just than a Model S, Tesla Model S, but it's more compact than a Porsche Taycan. And why does that matter? Because it means that it's usable, eminently usable in a big city. It's easy to park, it's easy to maneuver, but it gives it great driving dynamics. You know, many years ago, I was chief engineer at Lotus Cars. Lotus is all about compactness, lightweight, and agility and handling. And, I'm really nuts about this kind of thing. So what we've got is this great fusion of what have hitherto been mutually exclusive attributes, compactness and agility to give sports car-like driving experience, but with an incredibly large interior. We've got more interior length and legroom than a long wheelbase S-Class Mercedes. And we're doing this through the miniaturization of our powertrain technology. And that's giving us this space concept. This is a new class of car. So that's what the technology does. And then also I point to the team and the company. This is a huge challenge to get to build a car company from scratch, to build a brand, to put a world-class EV into production, and to do that from effectively nothing. It's only been done once before. That was Tesla Model S 10 years ago. And I'm blessed that so many of my previous Tesla Model S team have come here to Lucid to join me to make this happen again. And this is the team that knows how to do this. And I think that there's a big differentiator also with Lucid, that so many of these companies we see in the startup space, they're almost a sort of vanity project of one particular individual, and it's all about some one person in that company. I think that Lucid is truly a team endeavor. I recognize the brilliance of the team that I surround myself with. I'm the face of the company in many ways, but Lucid really is a team camaraderie and a team effort of brilliant engineers and designers making something that's going to make the world a better place.
Absolutely. And that's really what makes it so attractive, because as a good leader, a leader surrounds himself with people that are even more knowledgeable. Like, you can be very knowledgeable and you obviously have a history in engineering and you've helped Tesla in the past, but it's always go so far. If you're going to be the CEO and the leader of a brand new company and really try to make your footprint into the world, you have to surround yourself with the great team. So that's amazing. That's
Alex, I always say my job is to surround myself with brilliant people, and then I can be the dumbest guy in the room, and then I can exit stage left.
That's awesome. So that was brilliant question. Brilliant answer. So the second question, you really brought them up, Mercedes. So with many other automobile makers unveiling electric vehicles for the luxury sector, such as the recent unveiling of the Mercedes EQS, which is coming in fall of 2021, how does that alter the landscape for Lucid and other players in the space?
Well, I am just thrilled that Mercedes had the foresight and the commitment to launch EQS. This is really great news. I totally welcome it. Hats off to Mercedes, and particularly Mercedes, the company that actually effectively invented the car in the first place. And this engineering powerhouse, of all car companies, Mercedes-Benz coming now into the luxury EV market with EQS. Hats off to Mercedes. Well done. I'm thrilled and chuffed to bits. But the other side of the coin is, those who know me, I'm a fiercely competitive engineer. I want us to have the very best technology in the world. I'm driving the team on a daily basis to do that. Cut us to the core, we're a tech company, totally committed to making the best engineering. And, I can't wait for not me to determine which is the better proposition, but for the journalists who test drive, and the ultimately the customers who determine which car they prefer. And I can't wait to see the road tests, EQS versus Lucid Air. Bring it on. Can't happen soon enough. And I can't wait for the journalists to get behind the wheel of our car.
Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be kind of like back in the day when Ford and Chevy or Ford and GM, you name them, just coming together against each other. So that's awesome. Yeah, and it's not only just the sector itself; it's really the overall EV sector. It's just the way that you're seeing all these companies come into one and realizing that the rotation to electrification, you can't. It's either you evolve or you're going to be left behind and change the world. So that's great. Indeed. So the next question. What are the latest estimated production and distribution start dates for the Lucid Air?
Yeah, well, we're gonna start production of Lucid Air, as I've stated publicly, in the second half of 2021, and you know, bring what I hope will be the very best car in the world to market in that time frame. We're pushing like crazy to make the car the best quality possible, and it'll be that quality metric which will determine the precise date in that window. Right now, we're bringing together, anecdotally, about 3,000 parts from 250 suppliers from right around the world. And each car we build, we're endeavoring to improve the quality on a step-by-step basis. And when that quality is right, we'll pull the trigger and declare start of production.
Absolutely. And I said this in previous videos. I'm not sure if your team has seen it, but I said that Lucid really doesn't, like, you guys do not have, you guys cannot mess up on this first decision, especially coming into luxury. You can't. And like when Tesla was at the beginning, when they were unveiling, that was early marks. They had some issues going on, battery issues, explosions, just kind of faultiness. You can't do that now with the market is already set. You have Tesla already, and you're going into the luxury luxury sector. If you're going to come into luxury sector and you're going to people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars onto your vehicle, you cannot mess up. So I understand. Obviously, you have spoken to not only your team, but also people in Churchill coming and talking. And I do understand the move of waiting a little bit, making sure everything is perfect, because you can only make a first impression one time. If you don't make that first impression well, no one's going to come back to you.
Yeah, absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. I mean, when Model S was launched 9 years ago, nearly, I think everyone was so blown away with the product that the EV could be so awesome that a lot of slack was cut for the quality. And the market is very much more mature this time. We're heading into the luxury segment. We're going to be compared with EQS. That thing will be built like a Rolex watch. No, it'll be built like a Mercedes-Benz, damn it. And this is a one-shot deal. You're right.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. So I think not only myself, but many other shareholders will understand that that you were originally starting for spring. But if you need to wait a little bit, a couple months, it's understandable. It's not that we're not here for the short term. We're here for the long term.
That's right.
So we've talked about this, and you have talked about this on the unveiling for Lucid Air. Has there been any conversations with other companies for Lucid to acting as a third-party OEM for the likes of Jaguar, Honda, BMW, Toyota, etc.?
Oh, yes, actually, we've had a number of approaches, even this year. And I'd love to do this. It's not been me overtly, proactively reaching out to anyone. It's been some companies have approached us. And we are actually currently having some dialogue with one or two companies, but nothing tangible yet. Remember, my focus is getting Lucid Air into production right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to have your hands in too many cookie jars and then you forget what the main focus is. So understandable. Then you get to get your main product done, taken care of, because if you focus on any other things, you're not going to be able to balance it all out. So clearly, the main focus right now is Lucid Air, Lucid Dream Edition, the Touring, Grand Touring, you name it. But with Lucid's Project Gravity SUV, and a lot of people are very excited for that, currently in prototype phase and set for production and distribution in 2023, has Lucid considered producing trucks or commercial vehicles in the future at all?
We haven't considered that, but I wouldn't rule it out for the future. I think that our powertrain is really very well suited to a whole range of applications. And this transcends not just passenger cars into trucks, but into other technologies. I mean, I think I can see agricultural applications. I can see heavy equipment applications. I can see aircraft, eVTOL applications. We've got a gravimetric energy density in our energy battery pack system, and a gravimetric power density in our drive units, which are unsurpassed. And that's going to reach a whole range of applications. So I'd love to be able to do something like that sometime in the future, but it's not a part of our immediate plan.
Absolutely. I understand. And with the battery that you have, a lot of it, it's any place that it can go. And a lot of attention has been going on with delivery vans in the future. And if it's not you, I could see that the companies could come to you for your batteries, because a lot of commercial vehicles, they not only run 1 to 5 hours, they go potentially 8 to 24 hours, and they need to have a battery that's very efficient. So I could see the batteries that you generate could definitely have a high demand.
Well, absolutely. And I think that, if you look in the commercial space, what really matters is payload and minimizing the weight of the battery pack. And this is where efficiency really comes to bear. Efficiency provides so many benefits. It reduces the carbon footprint of the vehicle. It reduces the mass requirement of the battery pack. It would increase the payload of a commercial vehicle. It also even increases rate of charge.
Wow. Yeah, especially with your partnership with I forget, Electrify America.
Yes.
Having the power to be able to fully charge.
Yeah.
So as you expand your production, when do you estimate Lucid will be capable of providing a vehicle at or below $25,000?
Oh, right. I've been asked this a number of times. Now, unfortunately, I don't think we can do that for another 7 or 8 years, even if we wanted to, even if our shareholders wanted to do, because, that sort of marketplace, that sort of product is notorious. It's high volume, low margin product. And here is the great dilemma, Alex, because I really want to have a meaningful impact upon the world. I think that we're facing an environmental crisis, and we need mankind to transition on a large scale to sustainable mobility. That's what the world needs. I wish we could be starting with a $25,000 car, not a car which is Dream Edition $161,000. There's a reason for that many people don't understand. There's this great paradox that almost the more expensive the car is to the customer, the less cost it is to the company to design and put that into manufacture in the first place. Now let's look at 2 examples here. Let's compare a Rolls-Royce, anecdotally, with, say, a product like a Volkswagen Golf. Now the Rolls-Royce costs a lot of money to the customer, but it's made in tiny numbers, largely hand-built in a small factory with relatively simple, low volume, low cost tooling. For the company, that is a relatively small investment to put this high price car into production. Now, the converse is the Volkswagen Golf, which needs to literally be made, that platform, by the million, in a huge plant, highly automated, with thousands of robots, which costs billions. That is a massive, massive undertaking. And if you look at the path that Tesla has taken, it didn't start with a $25,000 car. It started with a high-end car, Roadster, then moved to still a relatively high-end car, Model S and Model X. It's only now that Tesla is mature enough and has access to enough capital that it can contemplate making a car in the $25,000 price range. So what do we do? What does Lucid do? Because I think we're probably about, realistically, 7 or 8 years away from being able to do that in terms of our maturity as a company, in our ability to have access to that degree of capital. And again, as I say, even if we wanted to do that. And I think the solution could be that we license our tech to other car companies. It's maybe other car companies. It's maybe the Toyotas, the Hyundais of this world that use Lucid's technology to make that $25,000 car. And that could happen 3-4 years from now. And what really excites me about this is where our efficiency with our ultra high voltage and our very advanced drive units with all the technology we've brought to bear can make that car super efficient. And that's where efficiency becomes an enabler for the mass adoption of electric cars. Such a car like that could potentially get close to what I think is the holy grail of about 6 miles per kilowatt hour.
Wow.
We could get to about 6 miles per kilowatt hour if we've got a more mature charging infrastructure. Then why carry the antidote to range anxiety on the car? Surely the car could have a smaller range, and the antidote to range anxiety is a mature charging network. If we knew there were fast chargers on every street corner, why would we need more than 150-mile range on the car? And if we could get 6 miles per kilowatt hour, and we only needed a 150-mile range in the car, that would mean just a 25 kilowatt hour battery pack. And if we can mass industrialize through economies of scale, cell manufacture down to less than $100 per kilowatt hour, that 25 kilowatt hour pack at cell level would cost less than $2,500. Maybe we could see a pack at pack level, maybe $3,300. And that really becomes exciting. That is the path to this mythical $20,000, $25,000 mass market car. And this is where efficiency drives economies. And that efficiency is coming from the technology. This is a tech race.
Yeah, it's not just one single company. Like you said, I think that one thing to really highlight throughout the whole thing is that to get to $25,000, it doesn't only have to be through Lucid. And
yes,
the brilliance of it is that you're going to be able to generate revenue not only through selling your own vehicles, but selling your technology to others.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
yeah, and a lot of people that are invested into other companies that are just popped up and they're focusing on third parties to take care of their vehicles. I don't think people really understand the fact that that's going to really cause issues to even keep the company afloat. Because you're focusing on third party, your net revenue is very minimal.
Well, here's the thing. There's a case study. The most significant, most successful EV company in history is Tesla. And what is its approach? Vertically integrated manufacturing. Mm-hmm. There's a reason for that. And we take exactly the same approach here at Lucid. We've built the first purpose-built EV plant in North America in Casa Grande in Arizona. We've built out phase 1 of that factory. We have a 4-phase plan to take us through this decade. And we believe there is no substitute for vertically integrated manufacturing. We have to control our own destiny. I don't see any third party being as incentivized for success manufacturing our cars other than ourselves. And we have to take that responsibility. This is too critical to risk outsourcing.
So, no question. I can't agree more. So with technology, like we were talking about, there's been an epidemic that's really has affected the whole world, and this not just coronavirus, but also the whole automotive industry. And it's been the nationwide semiconductor shortage. How has that affected Lucid, and has it affected it in any way?
Well, the pandemic has definitely affected our ability to get the right quality parts to the factory, to build, to get the car into production as soon as I ideally would have liked. Mm-hmm. And that was very much a driver for our announcement that we go in the second half of this year. Regarding the semiconductor shortage, where our supply chain is working assiduously on this to mitigate our risks. And it's something I've got my finger on the pulse of literally on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Now, there were some words that Lucid really prepared for this kind of situation by stockpiling semiconductors. Is that true at all?
We did, to a certain degree, buy ahead, and we're securing supplies for many of the chips on the car as best we can. Absolutely. So that foresight helped mitigate the risk, but we're all exposed to this.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not only Lucid, but it's many companies across the whole board. Even Tesla. Tesla had to push back their $37,000 vehicle to potentially 2022. So understandable. With Lucid currently testing release vehicles, what phase in the safety inspections is Lucid in, and has the safety crash test has been scheduled already, or is it has already occurred?
So we've got this all scheduled, as you'd expect, and the critical thing here with crash testing vehicles is that in order to sell a car, we have to self-certify so that the car is homologated as safe to sell. But that crash test program that we use for self-certification, those cars, it's no good using prototypes. You have to use cars which are representative of production process and production build. So by the very nature of the business, you only get cars which meet that criterion when you're very close to start of production. Because you don't have cars which are representative of production build until you're very close to actually being in production.
Sure.
So that is the process, and that is the path that we're currently on. But of course, over the last year or so, we've crash tested many of our beta prototypes with some very successful results.
Awesome. It's very exciting. And yeah, I wouldn't want to test something that that's not going to be released to the people yet. So understandable. Autonomy technology and LiDAR has been a big topic into the EV sector. How does Lucid plan to have level 4 or level 5 autonomy in the near future? And is there any safety protocols that you're going to ensure that the Lucid Air has implemented?
Well, Alex, I'm going to be straight up with you here. We've got no plans whatsoever to get level 4 or 5 anytime in the near future, because that notion is a fantasy. There's no one's going to have level 4 or 5 anytime in the near future. If you want to believe in fantasies, good on you. But so we're launching with a level 2, maybe a level 2 plus. We've got a great team of ADAS and AD team here, led by Dr. Eugene Lee, formerly of GM and really known as the father of GM Super Cruise. We've got the car, or the Dream Drive system, with 32 sensors, including LiDAR, 14 cameras, short and long range radar, the most comprehensive sensor suite, which will ready the car for a level 3 upgrade through over-the-air software upgrade over that, which we hope to be able to do over the next couple of years after start of production. But realistically, level 4 and level 5 are quite a long way off.
Absolutely. And with the current crashes, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be need to upgrade their system, as well as ensure upgrading and make sure the program works. So
we take the safety of this super seriously.
Yeah, no question. Absolutely. You don't want to be on your side of a lawsuit. So with the LiDAR technology, how serious is Lucid considering to work or partner with the likes of Google, Apple, or Amazon on the software package, as well as the autonomous technology?
Oh, I'd love to do that, because this whole software endeavor to get to a high level of autonomy, to get to level 4 or 5, because I do think it'll happen. It's not a case of that I don't believe that will ever happen. It's a case of when it will happen, not if. Now, the very best estimates here in Silicon Valley, where I'm speaking from, are that just that software piece could take 10 years and $10 billion. Now, that's frankly beyond the budget that I have at my disposal. I can do an awful lot regarding expanding the growth of electric cars for $10 billion. So I think the sort of pragmatist in me, it would be great if we could partner. I think we've got to have the most advanced car in the world in Lucid Air, with the most advanced integrated sensing suite with 32 sensors, with 2 terabytes of onboard data. We've got an Ethernet ring, a gigabit superhighway, a nodal redundant gigabit ring in the car. No one else has that. Super connected car. This is the ideal platform for flashing over the air the most advanced iterations of AD software. And I think partnership could be a good route forward, but we're yet to pursue that. Let's get the car into production first. That's my approach.
Absolutely. Understandable. That's a really big question. So I appreciate you answering that. What are the Lucid's plans for international expansion? You've mentioned in the past you desire to expand manufacturing to Saudi Arabia and China. There's been a lot of speculation about Saudi Arabia in particular. Are there any updates that you can provide on that situation?
Well, not at the moment, no precise updates, but absolutely we want to be a major player internationally with more than one plant in the world in the future, and that's very much part of the plan. But I do want to reinforce this. We will always see Casa Grande as the mothership. That's where we develop the most advanced processes from which they can cascade into other plants, such as maybe the Middle East and certainly China in the future.
Okay. Yeah. Understandable. Because you got to need focus. Again, it's all purely focus. You can't focus. You got to take care of home here, and then as expand, you need to make sure first.
Yeah, exactly.
Many potential investors are focused on Lucid being purely an automotive company. Understandable. And we talked about technology, but could you cover what other products Lucid plans to produce if there are any timelines set as well?
Yeah. So the vision for the company is that we create the Lucid group of companies, and there will be 3 divisions. There'll be cars, energy storage, and technologies and technology applications. So I think that Lucid Air is the first example of our cars. Then we're going to have Gravity and a whole bunch of cool products over the next decade. With energy storage, we've already got the first ESS system hooked up and running here in our headquarters. We recently connected a small solar farm, a pilot solar farm from the roof of our building to that. That's all connected up and operational. We're accruing data from that. The next baby step will be to make a beta prototype and install that in our factory in Arizona, and then we go from there. So I think our energy storage systems and big data that we're going to accrue from that is going to be huge. But because we've got two-way charging through our Wonderbox technology, we will be able to do a whole bunch of interesting stuff with the cars themselves, using the cars as an energy storage system. And we're going to do an example, a trial here in our headquarters of peak shaving using Lucid Airs in the car park. I want to get this done before this year is out, this peak shaving trial, to show how we can balance the grid, take the peak energy usage out of the system here in California. That's very important for making the grid more robust. And it will also save us as a business. So when there are peak demands from the business in the building, that's when the cars in the car park, instead of charging, they will be discharging through the Wonderbox into the building, and our cars, our Lucid Airs, will be contributing to the building's energy draw and therefore demanding less from the grid. And I think this is going to be a really useful addition to the repertoire of the car in the future.
Absolutely.
And then the third division is our technology. As you know, we currently supply, we're the sole battery supplier to the World Championship Electric Race Car Series. And I just hope there's going to be so many licensing applications with other, not just car companies, but other industries for our technology. And I'm particularly excited about eVTOL aircraft application.
Absolutely. And a lot of them have actually gone public through SPACs, and they're not really going into production till 2025, which plenty of time for the batteries to be worked on and actually get that partnership in the future. So that's very exciting.
Absolutely, Alex. And I mean, when you think if you're doing an eVTOL aircraft as a small company, if you recently SPAC'd, I mean, that is an enormous undertaking. Why take on the additional burden of developing in-house your own integrated electric propulsion system for that aircraft? Why not use a Lucid system, a turnkey solution?
Absolutely. And you have to have the most efficient. If you again,
Everything
it needs to be small, and you take up less space to have more passengers, as well as last longer. You don't want that dead space, or like you said, dumb range.
And mass is the great driver, of course, with eVTOL. So it's the gravimetric energy density for the battery pack and the gravimetric power density for those drive units.
Absolutely. Well, That's all the questions I have, Peter. And again, we really appreciate you taking your time, as well as the Lucid team taking your time to, number one, accepting this interview, as well as answering your questions and setting up a great little setup behind you by having that Lucid Air Dream. That ain't a green screen. That's a real vehicle.
Do you want me to prove it?
Yeah, absolutely. Go
ahead. Let me prove it.
Check it out, guys.
Yeah. Can't do that with a screen, can you?
There you go.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I have enjoyed the dialogue hugely.
All right. Thank you so much, Peter. I really appreciate it. And you take care.
All the best. Bye-bye.